Habari. Jina langu ni Nuri. Mimi ni mzalishaji wa We're Diplomats. Ninazungumza kwa Kiswahili sasa. Kwa nini? Wiki hii tutazungumza kuhusu Kiswahili katika kipindi chetu. 여기서부터 다시 한국어로 이야기할게요. 왜 이번 주 주제가 스와힐리어냐고요? 탄자니아 대사님께서 저희에게 연락을 주셨습니다. World Diplomats에서 스와힐리어에 대해 이야기하고 싶다고 하셨어요. 대사님께 자초지종을 들어보니 한국과 탄자니아를 연결하는데 스와힐리어가 아주 중요한 역할을 하고 있더라고요. 한국과 탄자니아를 연결해주는 디플로맷 중 하나가 바로 스와힐리어였습니다. 여러분, 그럼 스와힐리어가 어떻게 한국과 탄자니아를 연결해주고 있는지 제가 지금부터 보여드리도록 하겠습니다. 가시죠. Let's go to the Tanzanian embassy first because we need to meet the ambassador. 여기에요. And let me introduce you to the Tanzanian ambassador. But everyone, how much do you know about Swahili? To be honest, I don't know that much. So let's first learn about what kind of language Swahili is. So tell us about Swahili. How widely is it spoken in Tanzania and other parts of Africa today?
Swahili is, in the linguistic terms, we call it lingua franca. Lingua franca means a language that is spoken beyond borders. So it's spoken in Tanzania, spoken in Kenya, spoken in Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, bit of Zambia, bit of Malawi, bit of Mozambique. So it's not only in Tanzania, but it is a national language in Tanzania and it's a national language in Kenya. And recently it is becoming a language, formal language in the South Africa, as they have adapted it as a language that they should use in school. Uganda has also adapted to use it in school. So it has been keeping on expanding. Number-wise, it is expected around 200 million people in the world speaks Swahili right now, which makes it the 10th largest language and the fast growing language in the world. And that's why it has won UNESCO and the United Nations recognition. So in Tanzania, everybody speaks Swahili. It's a national language. It's our number one language. We have two national languages, Swahili and English, but Swahili is number one. It's a language that you can use anywhere in Tanzania by people of all races, all age group, all gender. I drop you at any point in Tanzania, you'll be able to communicate because of this language.
The ambassador just emphasized the statement. Everyone in Tanzania speaks Swahili. To be honest, this statement didn't really hit me at first. From my perspective, as someone who has lived in Korea my whole life, it was obvious that everyone speaks Korean. That is because Koreans have been speaking Korean for a long time. But to properly understand the statement, everyone in Tanzania speaks Swahili, you first have to know about the country called Tanzania.
Tanzania is a country that was formed in 1964 by the merger of Tanganyika, which became independent from Britain in 1961, and Zanzibar, which also became independent after a revolution against the Arab minority in 1964. There are about 125 to 130 tribes in Tanzania, and each tribe has its own language. So there are over 100 languages in Tanzania. And most African countries, including Tanzania, were colonized by Western powers until the mid-20th century. The languages of the colonial powers, such as English, French, and Portuguese, were widely used in public areas such as administration, education, and the media. As a result, many countries on the African continent became multilingual societies. However, Tanzania has promoted the Swahili language since its independence, and Swahili is now the country's national language. The ambassador's statement that everyone in Tanzania speaks Swahili carries with it a special historical significance and pride.
But what makes this very important is Tanzania is the country with around 129 tribes, different tribes. Each of these tribes have their own language. But Swahili is the language that cut across all the tribes. So it's a language that carries with it a lot of diversity, but also it's a language of unity, a language that unifies a country, a language that makes an identity of a nation. So,
As I listened to the ambassador's story, I had another question.
But as you mentioned, there were a lot of diverse languages spoken by various ethnic groups, but why Swahili was chosen?
Swahili was chosen because it was already spoken by many, because Swahili is the language that resulted from the contacts, early contacts of trade. The people from the coast of Tanganyika and up to Kenya and north of Mozambique were trading with the people from the Far East, from China, from this Far East Asia, and then people from the India subcontinent and Arab world. So because of meeting and contacts, that's how the language was formed. That's why Swahili is not purely an African language. It has African in it, it has Arabic in it, it has some Indian in it, some Asian in it, some German in it, some English in it, and some Portuguese in it. So almost everybody who came to the coast of East Africa contributed to Swahili.
In its original meaning, Swahili refers to the coastal region of East Africa. This region has long been a crossroads of trade and human exchange, and the language used in this region is Swahili. The Swahili language developed over the course of 2,000 years. Thanks to centuries of contact between Arab traders and people on the east coast of Africa, Swahili and Arabic share a lot of common words. In addition, it's been influenced by many other languages, including Indian, English, Portuguese, German, and Persian as well. 200 years ago, Swahili was only spoken in the coastal areas of East Africa. Then, as trade between the coastal areas and the inland areas of East Africa grew rapidly, Swahili began to spread inland. The emergence of new independent countries in East Africa also played a major role in the proliferation of Swahili. Today, it is estimated that there are up to 200 million people who speak Swahili, making it the most widely spoken African language.
So during the colonial time, of course, in the colonial education, English was much more promoted. But few people went to school during the colonial time. That was the good side of it. So majority would not go to school, spoke either Swahili or spoke their own vernacular languages. And Swahili was not spoken all over the country by then. It was mainly on the coast and the places where trade took place. So all these routes, because of business, the Swahili became a language of business and transaction. But other parts of the Tanzanians, people did not speak Swahili. But during the struggle for independence, it's when Swahili was tried to be used now for the first time, because at least it was a language that already united so many people compared to many other languages. So even English itself could not mobilize the whole population, could only mobilize those who went to school. Swahili at least mobilized many people because of trade. But it was a deliberate effort of our founding father and our founding fathers around him to make it a national language, a deliberate national language, a language of unity. And what they did, it was simply soon after we got to independence. So there was a debate, like in many other African countries, whether we should use English or we should use one of the languages. In many parts of Africa, they failed to have a consensus and they decided to use English instead, because each tribe think like, no, my language is more important than the others. You should use mine. So it's like, no, you should use mine. But in Tanzania, there was a big debate in the National Assembly by then, Legislative Council by then, and then there was an agreement that Swahili should be used as a national language. So it was decided for us, Swahili become a national language is a deliberate effort.
Swahili was designated as a national language of Tanzania after Tanzania became independent from Britain in 1961. This decision was based on the vision of Tanzania's first president, Julius Nyerere, of uniting more than 120 tribes into one nation, one identity, one language, as a prerequisite for development, which was later translated into Ujamaa policy. Ujamaa is a Swahili word meaning familyhood. The Ujamaa policy is the ideology that formed the basis of Tanzania's social and economic development, and its core was harmony and unity. And Swahili language became a vehicle for introducing and spreading Ujamaa policy. As Tanzanian political leaders saw Swahili as an essential element in establishing Tanzania's identity and national culture, departments and research centers on Swahili were established in national universities in the early days of independence. National institutions on Swahili were also created. The Tanzanian government currently uses Swahili in all official business. Meanwhile, Swahili was used for elementary education, while English was used for secondary education in Tanzania. But in February 2015, a policy to expand the use of Swahili to secondary education alongside English was announced.
So in Korea, October 9th is celebrated as Hangul Day, and in 2021, UNESCO designated July 7th as International Swahili Day.
Yes.
So why July 7th?
July 7 has a special significance in our history of our country. It was the day our political party that mobilized our people to independence, a nationalist party called Tanganyika African National Union. It was born on the 7th of July in 1954. So that date later was designated also as Farmers Day, Tanzania Farmers Day. Saba Saba. We call it 7-7. So Saba is 7. So Saba Day. Right? So that day has remained important day in our history until to date. And so because Swahili language was very instrumental in mobilizing for our independence of Tanganyika, and later a revolution in Zanzibar, which later resulted into Tanzania. So we designated 7-7 as the day for Swahili, as International Swahili Day. So UNESCO adopted a resolution in 2021, and the good news is this year, again, I mean just early this month, United Nations General Assembly also adopted a resolution to designate the same day now as International Swahili Day.
Oh.
Yeah.
How much influence do you think the choice to adopt Swahili as the national language had on established Tanzania's society today?
One of the very good decisions we made as a country was adopting Swahili. And I can bear witness. You can do your literature study around, and you see many of African countries that experiencing conflicts to date. One of the biggest problems is language. Because language is beyond transaction of information. Language is also carries with it culture. Language carries with it an identity. Language defines who we are and who we are not, right? So in many other countries, politics becomes very balkanized because you cannot unite people together. People want to choose somebody who speaks their language, and your language defines who you are. It says this is ours, this is our person, this is not our person. But in Tanzania, because of Swahili language, I can go and contest for parliamentary seat in any part of the country. So you have somebody who is a member of parliament of the north region, but he's coming from the south, simply because he can communicate. So that makes help us in forging a national identity. That's one of the things that make us think and feel like we are one. But so it means naturally all those who speak one language feels that they are one and the same. And that was the beauty of Swahili. And that's what makes our country stable for the past 60 years. We have never experienced any major internal conflict, no civil wars in the country, because we can harmoniously move freely within the country, settle anywhere, marry anyone. So there's a lot of intermarriages in Tanzania. People marry from each tribe, because it doesn't matter. Wherever you go, you'll still be able to talk to your mother-in-law. even if you don't speak the language of their tribe, but still, it doesn't matter which religion you are, it doesn't matter which race you are, we can all speak in one language. So that really makes us one, make us a nation.
A few days after my interview with the ambassador, I visited the embassy again. Why?
네, 저는 지금 스와힐리어를 배우러 탄자니아 대사관에 왔습니다.
That is right. The Tanzanian embassy has been offering Swahili course since 2018.
공부하려고 이렇게 노트북도 들고 왔습니다. 오늘 학생 모드입니다. 그럼 대사관 안으로 들어가 보겠습니다. 여기 보시면 여기가 바로 스와힐리어 교실이에요.
I heard there is a class today, so I came here to learn Swahili.
하바리 가니.
Nuri.
Let me introduce you to Tunu, the Swahili teacher of the Embassy of Tanzania.
Jambo.
짬보.
Yo.
Pia nilikuja kujifunza Kiswahili.
Oh, ninakumbuka. Karibu sana.
탄자니아 대사관에서 미리 스와힐리어 교재를 좀 보내주셔가지고 내일 수업을 듣기 전에 먼저 공부를 좀 하고 가려고 합니다. 교재를.
Yes, I studied some Swahili before coming to class.
So I think I'm the first one to arrive today.
Yeah. Kweli.
There is some time left before class begins, so I'm going to talk to the instructor, Tunu.
So how long have you taught Swahili in Korea?
6 years now.
6 years.
Yeah.
So do you remember how many Korean students you taught so far?
Yes, and I have their records. So from 2018 up to now, we already graduated 384.
84.
84
Wow.
students. Yeah, 384. That is the number. Yes.
So other than the classes offered at the embassy, are there other ways to learn Swahili in Korea?
Yes. We have the two university here. They're teaching Swahili. Hanguk University and also SNU, Seoul National University. They're teaching as option course. In Hanguk University, there is some student, they're getting postgraduate level.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it is highest level and they get a lot of students. They said per semester they get 60 students. Koika also they have classes for student people who are going to volunteer, especially in East Africa. So Koika also they have Swahili classes. Yeah.
The students started coming in one by one.
얼마나 배우셨어요?
1년 정도 했습니다.
여기서 처음 시작하셨어요?
네.
So shall we begin today's Swahili lesson?
Habari. In Tanzania, we have general greetings. As you know, Swahili is spoken in East Africa. We have the greetings which we are sharing. The one is Habari. Habari is how are you? Habari yako Tumaini?
은주리.
Habari Nuri?
살라마.
Oh, habari yani?
Njema.
Habari za leo, Moyo?
Vizuri sana.
Habari gani, Adriano?
살라마.
Yes.
As I listened to the class, I became curious. Why were the students learning Swahili?
First, could you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. My name is Seunghwan Ryu. I'm currently studying at the Free University of Berlin in Germany as a graduate student.
What do you study?
So I'm currently working on the historical relationship between the Korea and Tanzania. And this Korea means both South and North Korea. And
So was that the primary reason that you choose to study Swahili?
definitely, I thought learning a language and understanding culture is closely connected. So in order to understand how Tanzanians think or how Tanzanians have thought of Korea or other foreign countries, I thought it is really important to learn their languages. And since Swahili is a crucial part of Tanzanian culture, I wanted to learn Swahili to understand how Tanzanians think and how Tanzanians have developed their ideas.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 한국외국어대학교에서 동아프리카를 전공으로 공부하고 있는 김예안이라고 합니다.
네. 그 동아프리카 학을 선택하신 이유가 있으신가요?
국제협력 그런 쪽에 관심을 두고 진로를 생각하고 있어서 이 과를 선택했습니다. 언어를 알고 그 사회에 접근하면 훨씬 더 깊이 있게 그 문화나 사회를 이해할 수 있다고 생각합니다. 저도 스와힐리를 배우고 작년에 이제 탄자니아에 방문할 기회가 있었는데 그저 그냥 학교에서 책으로 공부했던 것에 비하면 가서 조금이라도 스와힐리를 쓰면서 현지인과 소통하는 것이 훨씬 더 제게 큰 의미로 다가왔고
저는 스와힐리어를 2012년에 이제 국제개발협력 인턴으로 탄자니아에 가게 되면서 거기 탄자니아에서 1년 정도 배웠었고요. 이제 1년 동안 활동하고 나서 한국에 왔는데 그 이후로 이제 안 쓰다 보니까 많이 잊어버려서 이제 탄자니아 대사관에서 스와힐리어 수업을 한다는 소식을 듣고 여기 와서 3, 4개월 정도 다시 배우면서 이제 스와힐리어를 다시 기억하는 식으로 하면서 수업을 들었었습니다. 네.
제 동생이 탄자니아에 오랫동안 살았었어요. 그래서 제가 우리 아이가 초등학교 때는 좀 자유로우니까 방학 때마다 거의 탄자니아에서 지냈거든요. 너무 좋아서.
진짜요?
그 자연이 너무 아름다워서. 그러다가 동생이 한국에 들어왔거든요. 그런 이후로는 제가 탄자니아를 그렇게 오랫동안 머무를 수 있는 기회가 없어졌잖아요. 아, 그러면서 그리운 거예요. 그래서 스와힐리어를 이 대사관에서 가르친다고 해서 왔고, 배워보니까 이 그냥 언어를 단순히 배우는 느낌이 아니라 탄자니아를 여행하는 기분이 들어요.
그럼 탄자니아의 매력이 뭐라고 생각하세요?
스와힐리어를 배우면서 또 느낀 건데요. 사람들이 굉장히 긍정적이에요. 그래서 언어 자체에 부정 표현이 별로 없어요. 그래서 심지어 그 그리팅 수업을 할 때 나 좀 안 좋아할 때도 아, 우리는 안 좋다라고 부정어가 확 튀어나오지만 탄자니아 사람들은 은주리 키도고 조금 좋아 이런 표현으로 얘기가 되는 거예요. 그래서 세계적으로 가장 긍정적인 나라가 아닐까 이런 생각이 들어요.
Everyone started learning Swahili for different reasons. But everyone said they learned about Tanzania and became closer to the country after learning Swahili. That is because once you learn a language, you can learn about the country's culture and the people of the country.
As here in Korea, you say 안녕하세요. Yes, and for us, when you greet elders, it go with action. So for men, they use hand. You give the hand, and this is right hand, not left. Yeah, when you use left means disrespect. So you must use right. And then you cover this hand with another one like this. So cover me, yes. And then you say, shikamo. You bend, shikamo. And the elders say, pahaba. Touch like this, like ne, ne. So shikamo, mahaba. Yes, this is for men. For women, we have different action. If we meet on the way, I can kneel, shikamo, shikamo. So this joint must be active. Shikamo. And in other tribal, in home, you must kneel down. So you kneel down like this. Shikamo. And other tribal, you have to remain. When he answers marhaba, then you lift up your head and then you stand up.
It has been less than an hour since I started learning Swahili, but it felt as if I was in Tanzania.
Salama daweweje?
Maybe that is the power of language.
근데 이제 뭐 사실 해외에 파견을 나가서 일을 하는 경우가 굉장히 많지만 뭐 그 나라의 언어를 배워서 가는 경우가 그렇게 많지는 않잖아요. 뭐 보통 영어를 쓰는 경우가 더 많죠. 근데 이제 그 나라 언어를 실제로 가서 배우고 그 나라 사람들과 소통을 할 때 어떤 점이 좀 달라지던가요?
제가 하는 일이 국제개발협력이라는 일이다 보니까 어쨌든 사람들의 삶에 되게 깊숙이 들어갈 때가 많아요. 어떻게 사시는지, 형편은 어떠신지, 어떤 문제가 있는지 조금은 낯선 사람들에게 얘기하기는 어려운 주제들이잖아요. 근데 적어도 인사말이라도 그 나라 말로 하면, 스와힐리어로 하면 일단 처음부터 만났을 때 분위기가 되게 좀 유해지거나 편해지거나 가깝게 느끼시는 경우들이 많고 그리고 스와힐리어로 얘기할 때 조금 더 편안하게 더 자신의 얘기를 해주시는 것 같다는 생각이 들었어요.
그러면 이제 스와힐리어를 배우면서 생긴 목표가 있으시면 어떤 것이 있으신지 궁금해요.
마지막 탄자니아 여행에서 그 동생 집에서 일을 해주는 다다라는 사람이 있어요. 탄자니아 문화에. 그 다다가 한국 대사관에서 무슨 주관하는 그런 노래 자랑이 있대요. 거기를 나가고 싶은데 도와줄 수 있냐고. 그래서 제가 그 친구의 음색을 잘 들어보니 심수봉의 백만송이 장미가 너무 잘 어울릴 것 같아서 그 노래를 이렇게 가르쳐 주면서
미워나 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 맘 없이 아낌없이 살아있주기만 할테 So 비무성이 꽃이 피고 고리보이라던 디베나라로 갈 수 있다네.
Teaching Shia a Korean song, Hyunju said this came across her mind.
내가 만약에 한국어가 필요한 사람에게 누군가 가에게 제대로 가르쳐 줄 수 있으면 되게 보람되고 좋겠다 싶어서 그걸 계기로 한국어 교원 자격증을 땄거든요. 만약에 기회가 된다면 내가 배운 스와힐리어와 내가 가지고 있는 한국어 교원 자격증으로 그쪽 일을 해봐도 괜찮겠다 그런 생각을 하고 있어요.
While having the conversation, I thought Hyunju could also play the role of a diplomat connecting Korea and Tanzania.
I'm wondering if you have any memorable students that you taught in the past.
I have many. I get different message from students. And sometimes they are writing message of appreciation. So this message sometimes make me cry because they are very sweet and good. I have a student here, Moyo. I was teaching her about crime and thief. So when I was teaching her, she told me, Mwalimu, wewe ni mwizi. You are a thief. I was shocked. How? She told me like, you stole my heart. And not only you stole the heart of students because they love you too much. So that make me emotional. Yeah, so I love them. I love their message and I always keep it. Yeah. Yeah, I always keep them. Yeah. I have many memory. Yes. Yeah, the message I always keep in my box. My best student. Yes.
I thought that only the students who came to learn Swahili became close to Tanzania, but that wasn't the case. Tunu, who came to teach Swahili, also said that she became very close to Korea and Korean students while living here.
So my best singer, Tutunu.
How do you call friends in Swahili?
Rafiki.
We call 친구.
Yeah, 친구.
친구. So we became Rafiki.
You are my friend. Rafiki.
Rafiki.
Yeah.
Rafiki.
Yes.
Please don't cry.
Today's filming was so much more than just a shoot. I made some new friends, or Rafiki.
Relations is about understanding, right? I can relate to you better if I understand you better. And I understand you better if I understand your language. Because in the translation, there's a lot of information or message lost along the way. So it is my wish, it's my expectation that in the future we'll be able to speak either Swahili or Korean when we're transacting business, when we are telling stories. And I think these our two languages are rich enough to help us to go to that direction. And we may start with the film industry, with the music industry. Yes.
By learning each other's languages, we will be able to understand each other better, which will in turn open up greater opportunities. What do you think? Don't you think we can say with confidence that Swahili is a diplomat that connects Korea and Tanzania?
Asante! Do you sometimes watch K-dramas?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, I do, because my wife does.
When I say to my mom, Ishkamo, Ishkamo everywhere. Why are you doing that instead of kneeling? I said, because I'm staying for a long time.